If you've ever tried digging into clay soil, you know the frustration. It's heavy, sticky when wet, and hard as brick when dry. Many gardeners consider it the enemy of good growing conditions, but here's the truth. Clay soil isn't a curse. In fact, it can be a blessing in disguise if you know how to work with it instead of against it. And well, one of the easiest ways to tame stubborn clay is by planting crops that naturally thrive in it. That's what I want to share with you today. The best plants that don't just survive in clay soil but actually love it. Before we jump into the list, let's pause for a quick moment of honesty. When I first started gardening in clay, I thought nothing would grow. My shovel would bounce back at me, water would pool on the surface, and every transplant looked like it was struggling for its life. But here's the surprise. Once I began choosing plants that were adapted to clay, my garden started to flourish. Not only did I get better harvests, but I realized that clay soil, with all its density, holds more nutrients than sandy soil ever could. The key is finding the right partners for it. Clay has a reputation for being difficult, but it's also one of the richest soils when it comes to minerals. Its fine particles lock in nutrients and moisture, which means plants have a constant supply once their roots are established. The challenge is that clay drains poorly and compacts easily, which can suffocate roots. But certain vegetables, herbs, and perennials have adapted to this environment, sending down strong roots and thriving where others fail. Instead of fighting the soil, the trick is to grow crops that make the most of its strengths. Let's start with root vegetables. Believe it or not, carrots and parsnips can grow in clay, but they need loosened soil or raised beds to avoid deformities. However, turnips and radishes do extremely well because their roots push through dense soil with ease. Potatoes are another great choice. They actually help break up compacted clay as they grow, leaving behind looser soil for the following season. Kale and cabbage are also excellent options, since clay's moisture-retentive nature supports their big, leafy growth. One of my favorite clay soil crops is chard. It's tough, reliable, and honestly, it thrives in spots where other greens just wilt away. Beans are another winner, especially bush beans, since they improve the soil by fixing nitrogen while tolerating heavy ground. So, while it might take a bit of experimenting, vegetables can truly thrive in clay if you choose the right ones. Fruit trees can be surprisingly resilient in clay. Apple, pear, and plum trees all do well, provided they're not sitting in a waterlogged depression. Their deep root systems can push through the dense soil and really benefit from the nutrient-rich environment. Strawberries are another great perennial choice. They spread across clay soils and produce generously once established. Rhubarb deserves a special mention. It's practically made for clay. This hardy perennial doesn't mind the heaviness at all, and actually grows more vigorously in it. Asparagus is another long-term crop that benefits from clay's ability to hold fertility over many years. Plant it once, and you'll enjoy harvest for a decade or more. If you want to mix beauty with function, clay soil is a perfect home for herbs like mint, oregano, and thyme. These aromatic plants, they spread easily and adapt to the density without much fuss. Lavender, though often associated with sandy soil, can actually thrive in clay if drainage is improved just a little. For flowers, daylilies, coneflowers, and black-eyed Susans are outstanding clay-tolerant options that not only beautify your space, but also attract pollinators for your vegetables. Here's the real secret. By planting crops that thrive in clay, you're not just working around the problem, you're actually improving the soil itself. Deep-rooted plants like comfrey, alfalfa, and certain cover crops naturally break up compaction and, well, add organic matter back into the earth. Over time, they help transform dense, sticky clay into a softer, loamier soil. So your clay isn't just usable, it's improvable. Every season, your garden gets better. When I stopped fighting clay and leaned into its strengths, my garden completely changed. My kale grew twice as big, my potatoes thrived underground, and rhubarb quickly became a staple in my kitchen. What once felt like an impossible gardening challenge turned into one of my garden's greatest assets. Clay holds nutrients and moisture better than any other soil type, and once you learn how to work with it, your plants will reward you generously. So if you've been frustrated with heavy, compacted soil, don't give up. Instead, try planting crops that actually enjoy clay. From hardy vegetables like turnips and kale to reliable perennials like rhubarb and asparagus, you'll discover that clay soil can be fertile, productive, and honestly, surprisingly easy to manage. Remember, the soil you have is the soil you'll grow with, and every challenge is really just an opportunity to learn and adapt. If this guide gave you fresh ideas for your clay soil garden, I'd love for you to subscribe to Gentle Herb Living and share this video with fellow gardeners who might be struggling with the same problem. Together we can turn even the heaviest soil into a thriving, abundant garden.